This is the XNC Podcast, your Xbox newscast, featuring Colteastwood and Mag, hosting industry interviews and gaming talk live on YouTube every Monday night at 5 p.m. on the West Coast, 8 p.m. on the East Coast. For all of you listening around the world, XNC Podcast is available on demand on Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. Welcome to the show. Join the chat, hit the like button, and let's get into this week's topics with the Xbox Newscast. Welcome. How's everybody doing? It's crazy. I'm so glad to have with us today a very special guest that actually is here. When I went back and looked, it was exactly a year ago.
Was it?
It was. It was.
But I'm not talking about you, fucker. Oh, right before we went live, he says, try not to say bad words. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm like, come on now. This is a church show. But no, we really appreciate having you on. David Jaffe, you're a pillar of the community, very respected. You never make anybody upset, but you also are such a great entertainer. I love to hear what your takes are on things of the day, and we're going to do a lot of that today. How you been, buddy?
You guys, I've been great. Thank you for having me. It's nice to be here. Good to see you guys. Hey, I'm sorry about your dad. Your dad recently passed, didn't he?
Fonz's dad. I've been with Fonz so much that we've kind of turned into the same person.
You're always the same fucking people to me. You bleed Xbox green. You're like, if I could invade you, I would and destroy you. No. Okay, so, Fonz, if you're watching, sorry about that. I remember hearing about that, and I got you guys confused. But I lost my dad on Halloween night 11 years ago. And,
really?
Yeah, it was what a strange night to lose your father, which I thought was kind of cool. But anyway, I'm glad your dad's doing well. He's like, no, Jeff, he's
he is. He is doing well. And Halloween's one of my favorite. Are you still cool with Halloween as a holiday after that?
Oh, yeah. My dad, I mean, he would have thought it was funny. He always took us out trick-or-treating. He was always supportive of all the imaginative, crazy shit we'd get up to. So to me, it seems like, it's not like he was Stephen King where it's like, it makes a lot of sense he died on Halloween. But, I have fond memories of what my parents did for us and let us do on Halloween. So it's kind of fun to me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are getting really close. I got to ask Mag. My co-host, Mag, is here.
Yes.
It's good to have you back. I missed you for a week. Well, Jeff, you talked about Halloween. You got to give us a little morsel about Halloween. What's the big tradition there at the Mag household?
First of all, Halloween is the biggest thing for our family, right? My wife and I, it is the doors in the house. My wife has these. I don't know what the hell they are. It's kind of like a drape or whatever, but it goes tight on all the doors, and it's got blood dripping down with handprints on it, kind of like The Walking Dead. Remember that opening scene, The Walking Dead season 1? It said "dead" inside, and it had hands. We've got those all over the main floor of the house. So when people come in, it looks so good. We have ghouls everywhere, inside, outside. I've got music ready for the actual night itself. We got a lot of kids in my neighborhood because a lot of young families moved in the neighborhood. And it's great. And it's a big thing. I got to tell you, when it comes to gaming and everything else, I game only horror games right now. I dropped everything. And I just, by the way, I know I pissed off somebody in the chat last week. Like, all Mag talks about is the games that he finishes. Well, guess what, scumbag, whoever you are? I just got the platinum on Resident Evil 7. Now I'm going back, and I'm going to do I'm going to get a platinum on Resident Evil Village. And I'm doing it on PlayStation just to upset you even more, whoever you were. So anyhow, only horror games. I'm really looking forward to Alan Wake 2 next week. I think it's going to be a fantastic game. I'm hearing a lot of great things. Some people have already got their hands on it. Not supposed to tell me stuff, but they did anyway. It's going to be 30 frames per second unless you're going to be playing it at 1080p on the consoles. So let's all calm down. But hey, doesn't matter. It's horror. It's supposed to be a great story, great time.
Sit back in your couch, squint your eyes. It'll look like 4K. You'll be good.
So in the meantime, while I'm waiting for Alan Wake, I'm obviously playing Spider-Man. I'm sure as most everybody else is right now and enjoying it. But anyways, Halloween, this is it, man. Even the kids are all in on it. We got Five Nights at Freddy movie coming out this Thursday. We're gonna take the kids to that and watch them lose a couple of years off their life in fear. So we'll see how it goes, man. I'm excited. Colt, talk to me, buddy.
It is Halloween, and I also am playing a very scary game. I'm playing Spider-Man 2, broken limbs hanging back, just decapitated heads, sugar cubes flying around. We'll talk a little bit about Spider-Man, but put like 8 hours in on that game yesterday. Like, I when I went to sleep, David, I was like, swinging through to New York City in my brain, like I couldn't shut it off because I played a ton of it. One more thing about Halloween is finally got a hold of it. Am I say this right? Toblerone bar. That's how I say it.
Sure.
I mean, if you're not classy, it's Toblerone. And then if you
Toblerone. You don't even, it's a silent E, the Toblerone. Yeah.
You want to go see Les Miserables and eat a Toblerone about me? You know, that sort of thing.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about Spider-Man. There's some good and bad stuff, but mostly really good. And some hilarious takes that I think we're going to have fun with. Yeah, I've been playing that. I even dusted off the old Gotham Knights game. Jeff, did you play that game at all that no one liked?
Well, I played the demo of it on the PlayStation, has it on trial. Now I think it's on everything. It's like Game Pass and on PS Plus. But they had that like 1 hour, 2 hour trial, and I played it. And you know, I liked it because I like comic books, and I like I like Marvel more than DC, but I like Batgirl. Is it Batgirl a lot? My girlfriend. And you know, so I enjoyed what I played, but it's one of those things that it's we're in such a time of such great games that a game like that I can't make the time for right now. And same, you know, Callisto Protocol was similar. And I'm playing all the big AAA stuff, but I'm also a big indie gamer, and I'm also a big indie horror gamer. And you know, there's so much good, weird, just bizarre as fuck stuff. Horror.
Jeffy, tell me, what indie games you got going on in the indie space? Give me a couple of titles that I can look into.
Well, if you horror or not horror, because if you haven't played Dave the Diver, you should absolutely play Dave the Diver.
Dave the Diver. Okay. No, I have not.
It is top 5 of the year. Excellent game.
Really?
But if you're looking for a wonderful, probably the scariest video game that I've ever played, is a game that was banned in China because they found some footage or art that made fun of the president, comparing him to Winnie the Pooh, which he didn't like. So Steam wouldn't sell it. You can't buy it on good old games.
Which president did they make fun of?
G, whatever, however you say his name, XI. But you can get it at the developer, Red Candle Games, and it's called Devotion. And it is just weird as crap and really disturbing. And it's short. You can finish it in like 4 hours. Just excellent game. So Dave the Diver, Devotion. I mean, there's what else? Believe it or not, I'm terrible at it, but well, let's see. I'll have to look at my Steam list and I'll get back to you maybe during the show. But those two will keep you busy. And Dave the Diver is excellent.
All right. You heard it there first, folks. If you haven't heard it already, write those games down. Go check them out. Support indie developers, please. And I will be checking those games out myself. So, thank you.
Yeah, you're talking about the mainstream stuff like Alan Wake. When you talk about all these games, I'm eating the Toblerone bar on the air. I feel like a horse eating at the trough. I'm like, you guys are talking. I'm like, let me try this out. It's not what I expected. I thought you said it had the nougat in like a Charleston
Chew. Well, now
Chew.
you've established the rules, bitch. Here we go. Let's
go
see.
for it.
What do we got? We got some Laffy Taffy, some Double Bubble, some.
Oh, I love Laffy Taffy. Hey, what's your favorite flavor?
Oh, what do you think? Let's say it at the same time. We'll do 1, 2, 3. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Banana.
Strawberry.
Absolutely.
Right. Come on.
Goddamn right.
Man, people hate banana. I love banana.
Oh, it's
so delicious.
It's delightful.
I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, how fitting. My kids will go out and they'll get so much candy at Halloween, and I will eat 80% of it while they're sleeping. I am that guy. Absolutely.
We made this thing up when my kids were little, and it was like, okay, you can come home and get the candy you want, like 10, 20 pieces, whatever. And if you want, you can have it all. Or if you like, the Great Pumpkin comes around when kids are sleeping, and they leave a toy if you give the Great Pumpkin your candy. So that's the way we would keep them from just gorging on all of it.
Fair enough.
So they always took the toy and like, fuck it, 20 pieces of candy. I can live with that. And a toy.
Yeah.
Sweet.
My kid likes to leave that Halloween chocolate laying around for like a month, and my dog starts like gnawing on several pounds of chocolate, and we're like, pull him away.
Yeah,
so he doesn't go visit the dog morgue. But hey, let's talk about Spider-Man. I know that Mag barely got time to play it, but
no, I put it about 5 hours or so, 5 or 6 hours now.
Mag doesn't sleep.
I was off today, so I squeezed it in. I squeezed in about 3 hours today and 3 hours on the weekend. So I got some decent, hands-on time with it. So carry on.
Yeah, let me say something first about it, because people have a totally different expectation of what an Xbox show would do when it comes to talking about Spider-Man, but there's more to talk about than like what we think of the game. I think it's phenomenal. It feels great. Miles Morales is not really a Spider-Man character. He's more like a Electro Man meets Superman, and I like him a lot more than any other character. The traversal's amazing. The game, Face23 sends a super chat. Thanks, Face23. He says, what mode are you playing in? I'm playing in Fidelity, which runs at close to 4K. Unlocked frame rate in VR mode with motion blur on, and it feels fantastic and it looks really good. I would really recommend playing it that way. So, Mag, before we get to Jaffe, tell us what your thoughts are, 5 hours in.
First of all, story's great. The set pieces are wonderful. Marvel, I know that the Spider-Man movies have been great because Sony's got their hands in it as well as Disney. But we all know how Disney's been doing with the MCU. I think they should be taking a couple of notes as to how to tell a proper story in terms of an endearing story. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying all aspects of it, from either the Parker side of things and the Miles Morales side of things. You're getting the both of that. I'm not going to get into spoilers for anybody who hasn't played too much of the game, but little things, and even like the Harry Osborn story, the flashback sequences, excellent, right?
What's with Harry Osborn always like this? What? He's always got this grin on his face.
Well, I like the way you said the Harry Osborn. It's almost like a Cleveland steamer. It's like, I'm going to give.
I know, right? It sounds like
get the Harry Osborn.
For the Harry Osborn last night. Yeah, she didn't like it too much. Yeah. So. Now I can't concentrate. Anyway, the story's been great. The set pieces are wonderful. I like the traversal. Now, there's one thing that I can't help but notice is when it comes to the traversal with the with the wingsuit and all that, and you're going through the rings and everything else. Kind of made me giggle at first because I was thinking of Superman 64 at first, just as a joke. However, we've come to a point now where the technology has reached a point where we can actually why can't we get a proper Superman game in the future in the next 5 to 10 years? I think it's possible now. And I know that they walked away from it. Many developers have walked away from it many times because they just couldn't get it absolutely right. I think that maybe now's the time to start looking into it. And the more you see it, especially those wingsuit sequences, going through this thing, zipping around the buildings, going around through the alleys, up the, under bridges, over bridges, whatever. And you're just like, you know what? Superman could easily do this. Doesn't even have to be like any faster than they're flying around or anything like that. And of course, we already know how they're going to work with the powers. Take away the powers and you build them up as the game goes on. That kind of thing, right? But anyways, the point is the traversal's great. Love it. It's fast. It's snappy. I have not experienced any bugs. Mind you, I also got the game after day one because a lot of the people that were, doing things. Let's face it, some people were doing it on purpose. They were going out to things where they were trying to glitch the game out, right? By going, someone else was talking about it, how they were basically putting the character in a position where it was going to resist, right? And then like do something silly, like turn around or, get to a point where you flip around and go backwards. So see, it's bugged. And I'm like, well, no, you took them to the edge of the map where they can't go any further. And then, and it makes it look like it's bugged. And then they film that, put it out there. Looking for clicks, looking for, clickbait, all that kind of stuff. And they got it. They succeeded because people were going nuts. I pop in the game, literally nothing. My son has put in about 15 hours because, kids clearly have a lot more time than we do. And he's experienced nothing. Zero. And I asked specifically, have you seen anything weird? Anything happen? He says, no, it's been smooth as silk. So, hey, it is what it is. I love the game. It deserves the 91 Metacritic. I'm really enjoying it. And I really look forward to Wolverine when it comes out. And then we'll see. I don't know. They were dropping some hints about maybe Venom in the future. We shall see. But either way, I'm enjoying the experience right now. Jaffe, take it away.
Let's see. I don't know how many hours I've played. I'm more than halfway through it. If you look at the number of missions, I think there's like 32 missions or whatever. Wow, I'm on like 18 or 19. I adore it. I think it's one of the best games of the year. When I first saw the trailers and stuff, I was like, I kind of felt the same way I felt about God of War Ragnarok when I saw those trailers, which is I love 2018's, but it looked kind of like more of the same, which is fine. But I was like, okay. I'll play it, but I'm not chomping at the bit. But what Insomniac did, I think, was just brilliant because they had so much of the foundation laid that now they could really go to town with some of the more interesting scenarios and combat scenarios, and the storytelling is great, and the characters are all really good. The way the game is paced, I was saying this earlier on my show today, it doesn't feel like it's one of those games that wants to be a movie with this kind of typical 3-act structure. It feels like it's paced like a TV series on Netflix. So it's like 8 to 10 episodes. And, you know, one of the big pivots in the story doesn't happen until well halfway into the game, you know, and you're like, oh shit, this is really, you know, and so it gives you time to really get to know the characters before the kind of the big shit comes down, you know, and it's that kind of freedom to play around with the form a little bit and stuff that I think is what you get to do after you've made, you know, basically 2 games on the engine and in the genre and with the character. It feels like they're really firing on all cylinders now. I think it's excellent. I had one crash bug, but short of, you know, I mean, every game has bugs. Yeah. So I'm, you know, the narrative around that is, you know, unless you're talking about a game like Cyberpunk 2077 when it first launched, you know, unless it's just obscene and your average consumer is going to have their good time ruined, I think it's a stupid narrative. It's a very well done, highly polished, highly produced game. And frankly, you know, I like what Insomniac's doing. They've put out on PS5 Spider-Man Remastered, Miles Morales, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and now this, and then, you know, they've got something coming next year
in less than 3 years.
Well,
right?
Not just
in the
Wolverine,
generation,
but I'm sure the guys, because there's a North Carolina office, I think, that did the Ratchet game. I mean, they all work together, but so the point though is that if that cadence comes at the cost of some bugs here and there, okay, fine. You know, if that cadence comes at the cost of the art and the environment looks great, which it does, although some of the character faces, the textures, like Norman Osborn's face in a lot of the shots look like this weird kind of leathery, bizarre texture map and stuff.
I didn't mind it. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. It's like, yeah, you can nitpick everything, but to me, I'm much more interested in playing a game like this and games from those guys that, you know, have some bugs, but they make stuff frequently. It's not like we're dealing with these 8-year cycles and all that bullshit, which I just can't handle anymore. So
I know it seems like Insomniac is the only studio that has been immune to the 6 to 8 year dev cycle.
Well, we'll see what happens with Santa Monica, for example, because they're supposed to be doing God of War DLC, not like actual DLC or a smaller 4-hour game, whatever. But you know, when I've talked to some of those folks, they're like, we don't crunch, or we try not to crunch. We rarely do. They seem to be really disciplined about this is the time we have. There's room to play. There's room to explore. That's built into the schedule. But unless like the game's not working at all, you know, we build on what we did before. So we're always improving, and perfect is the enemy of good kind of thing. And so it's like, you know what, this is from an outside observer. If you're at Naughty Dog, it's like, no, that skin's not right. We have to, you know, work for the next 2 months to get the skin perfect. And Insomniac's like, nah, it looks pretty good enough. Let's move on, folks. And let's do some cool shit. And so I appreciate that, because I think you can get too lost in the sauce and end up taking forever on things that nobody's really going to notice, frankly.
Like the occasional, I mean, there were lots of bugs, and like I saw a couple compilation videos of really funny stuff, and I'm like, I'm 16 hours in. I've seen one lady walk through a barricade briefly, and I know other people, like Randall Thor said his bike went down into the cement for a minute, and he's like, I was on the phone with him. I could tell he's just kind of like, you know, this happens in games.
I mean, you're fucking. I mean, again, I'm a kid of the '70s, so my Spider-Man was, you know, on the Electric Company, a guy like in probably a, you know, Party City costume. That they had a Spider-Man segment that was on the Electric Company when I was in, you know, and that's what I got. And my video game for
Well, we
Spider-Man
had the
was,
Spider-Man Atari game too.
yeah.
Remember?
So it's like, you know what?
Horrible.
Really, it's like I feel like one of those Depression era kids where it's like, we had to eat pictures of potatoes, so I'm not going to complain that, going to like Soup Plantation or one of those buffet family restaurants is like, this is below my quality. I'm like, motherfucker, we were drawing pictures with crayons and eating them and hoping we could will into existence the nutrition to stay alive. So
I can't even remember if we got an NES Spider-Man game. At least I never touched one.
I think there
probably
been
was. I
one
just don't
from
remember.
JLM or Acclaim or something.
Probably. What was that? What were they called? JLB? Nah, I can't remember what they're called.
Something like that.
Something like that. They're horrible.
One that angry video game nerd always reviews.
Yeah,
they
have the rainbow mag and
the rainbow.
They did the horrible Back to the Future game. Yeah, I think there probably was a Spider-Man game. But I got to say about this open world, Miles Morales didn't really do anything, didn't make me want to live in the world because it was just more of the last game. But they've added a lot of different things you can do in this. And so when I look at Insomniac, I think they set themselves up with a great formula and they just delivered more of a good thing. And I really do feel like they're like, what would be great? I do have complaints about, there's a lot of this slow walk and talk where they emulate the Naughty Dog or some of the modern PlayStation tropes. Like whenever your character goes to meet with somebody, there's this slow music that plays and it's really like over dramatic and every conversation is really heavy hearted. And then when you get loose in the world, you're like, flying around and that's been pretty fun. So I don't know.
I will say on that, I mean, your mileage definitely is going to vary, but I saw somebody online today calling it like it's like superhero meet, even though Life is Strange had superpowers, but it's like a Life is Strange meets Spider-Man with those segments you're talking about. But
yeah,
what I love, honestly, I mean, I'm a huge Marvel fan, and the idea that, when Stan Lee and Jack Kirby got together and said, let's do superhero stories, but let's not forget the human element. And let's make sure, and that's why Marvel was so successful compared to DC back in the day, is that these people had real problems and they struggled with their marriage and they struggled with money and Peter Parker could never afford the rent. And I love that, frankly, I mean, I get that if you just come to it as a pure game, totally get that criticism. It's like, well, yeah, but it's not fun for me to just ride a bike with Harry Osborn, which is what you can do in the game. You like ride your bicycles to the school or something.
Or look at a bill.
Right. But that said, though, that's, as a Marvel fan, like even Guardians of the Galaxy, if you remember when Star-Lord as a teenager, if you played that game, is walking around his bedroom and he's having conversations with his mom. And, they're building character through set design and character interactions and all this stuff that makes
and motivation.
The game, and it makes the games feel more like the comics and the source material. And I get that not everybody wants that, but for all I know, you can turn it off. Insomniac's put so many fucking, you don't like this, turn it off. I'm waiting for them to release like the update where it's like, you're racist, you don't like black Cuban people, not a problem. Won't make Miles a redneck shit kicker. What do you need? Because
we gotta talk about the flag.
There's so many options to play it your way, which I appreciate because it's a big blockbuster that, if you're a 6-year-old kid that loves Spidey, you're going to want it. And if you're a old dude like me who grew up with Spidey, you're going to want it. It's not meant to be Bloodborne. It's not meant to be Lies of P or whatever. So I get the accessibility, but Ted Price coming out and saying, we think there are good people on both sides and we want racists to enjoy our work as well. And thus we're getting rid of all the black folks and the Jews in the game. I think that was probably a bridge too far, but he runs Insomniac. He knows what he was doing.
I didn't even know he said that.
He didn't say that. Are you out of your mind? Are you out of your mind? Goodness.
I wasn't aware that. No, I'm just kidding.
By the way, shout out to the doctor for pointing it out. It was LJN Studios.
It was LJN.
They actually did make a Super NES game.
Oh my gosh,
Spider-Man game. Yeah. And I mean, he's a huge. I know him personally, the Doctor, and of course, him and I were big angry video game nerd fans for years, right? Watching his channel, right? So yeah.
Same.
So, anyways, it's LJN, and that's the Rainbow Company. Yeah, they made a Super NES game. So
they
anyway,
ruined just every IP back in the late '80s, pretty much. Yeah.
Oh my God! Any IP that they can get their hands on, they literally laid waste to it. But I did like the thing. David was talking about the scenes where you're riding a bike with Harry and everything else, and then even just walking around the house and all that, Aunt May's house, and all these different little things. It gave me that Uncharted 4 sort of vibe. You know, like those moments where like you're in between or you go the flashbacks when you're with your brother in the boarding school, in the church, and you're walking around, you're talking, you go to that person's house. So you're still getting moments of gameplay where you're still doing traversal. You remember that? Like you're traversing in like the living room, trying to get to the locked room and whatever else. This is the same thing. So it still gives you enough to keep the hooks in you, where you're sneaking around the high school in a flashback, and you're still crawling on the ceiling and whatever else, trying to dodge security guards. Great. So you're still getting a little bit of that in there. So people can't say, well, it's just a walking simulator for this entire level. You're still doing something, because those little moments that they put in there will play into missions later on where you're going to have to actually utilize those exact same skills. So in a way, it's more of like a deeper characterization of a tutorial. Exactly. Yes. So I really enjoy. I personally enjoyed those kind of moments, and I like the fact that I'm also a comics guy. I also came up from the 70s and 80s, and I love listening to all the little nuances and all the things they talk about and everything else, because there's lore there. And you've got decades and decades of lore. And I got to say that when it comes to Insomniac and the Spider-Man IP, they dip into that lore. And I'm really enjoying that they're doing that, because it means they've done their research and they really looked into its history. And so someone like me, I appreciate that. So.
I wonder, though, if that's a challenging design predicament, which is, are you making it for people who love the lore and know that Marvel does that, and that's what makes Marvel special? Or are you also having to design for the people who are like, yeah, that's great, but can I please, like Colt saying, I just want to get back to swinging, please. I want to get back to fighting, please. Like there is going to be that group. And I wonder how they decide, how to balance that out and where to lean at any given moment towards which sort of fan group, because you could alienate a lot of people who are just kind of like, dude, I saw the commercial. It's punching and swinging and electric powers. Yeah. Why am I riding a bike? Why am I at Coney Island on a roller coaster? What is happening in my life? So I see that being difficult, but I as a Marvel fan, love it.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, when I think about some of the, like, you need to establish motivation or reason, and like in these games, sometimes they have to give you a reason to, like, why are you going to beat up all of Kraven's guys? And you see him on screen and he's just really brutal and violent. But then I'm like, I'm helping out at Aunt May's house, or I'm riding my bike in the fall breeze with Harry on the best date ever. And then I shoot some hoops with him, and I thought, oh, this is kind of... But when Jaffe says, like, are you going to alienate people? Like, this stuff shows up in games, and I think for the most part, the majority of people don't mind that. They're like kind of... I'll just end it by saying this.
But do they like it?
It keeps people from putting their phone in their hand during a cutscene. Like, the one thing I'll give it, even if I don't love the slow walkie and talkie parts of Spider-Man and the somber piano music, which I think is really heavy-handed, at least they're making me stay engaged. So I'm like, see what Mag's doing on Twitter. Nice. He's in his underwear again.
Yeah, well, obviously, yeah. Yeah, but the thing is, the thing is that it's pretty shallow. I'm just gonna say it. I think it's pretty shallow for people to just immediately say, "Oh man, it's boring," or this and that, just because I didn't want to play this scene or that scene. It all ties into, obviously, if anybody knows anything about storytelling, we're talking about foreshadowing for the future. This obviously going to have some form of consequence later. So all those little moments are going to add up to something, either this game, next game, who knows when, but it will have a payoff. And if people aren't patient enough to sit through that and understand it, you're not sitting there, you're not appreciating the story and the work going into it. I don't know, that's just me. I mean, you could go ahead and you can swing and punch all you want outside of those scenes. You can go outside. It's an open world. Go ahead. You could do unlimited. What are those little missions? Those little crime fighting missions where it turns red. whatever. You can do that all day if you feel like it, and maybe that's all you want to do. Go ahead.
About that is and this is you gotta really love Spidey to give a shit about what I'm about to say, but there is that weird disconnect where you're swinging to a mission and then there's like, oh, crime is happening over here, right? Yeah. In the first part of the game, I've been playing, I don't know how many hours in, but I'm a lot of hours in. I was like, oh, cool. I want to go level up my guy and I want to, get points and all that. And this is fun. And, and after a while, it's just like, oh, can I?
Right, another one. Yeah.
Right. But at the same time, though, it's like, you don't have to do them. And I'm like, I know, but I'm Spider-Man. The whole reason Spider-Man is Spider-Man is he stopped going. I'm going to, Uncle Ben's dead because he's like, I'm not going after that one.
I was going to say he delivered the pizzas late, but you went with something more important.
That's what made him. And so it's almost weird that the game is like, well, do you really want to be Spider-Man? Or, it's, and I know, like I said, that's a kind of a deep fan problem to have. And it's not really a problem, but it is weird though, because it does kind of go against what the character is via the game design. But I love it though. Great.
Hey, Red Dead 1 and 2 do that as well. Like that little icon pops up there, that little blue icon that's like, you got to go save the day because I'm a good John Marston or good Arthur Morgan. And you're supposed to be pushing the story forward to save your family or whatever, which one you're talking about. But you're like, oh, but I'm going to go over here and help this guy find his boot. But that's just kind of how it goes. I've got to cut one more thing to bring up about Spider-Man. We'll move on to some big news that dropped today. Red Wool, thank you for the super. He says it's a Jaffe. Is it Jaffe or Yaffe? He wants to give you a silent soft Y or J. He says, excited for the show. You guys rock. Chat, hit the like button with your fingers. I don't know why he wrote that. But yeah, thank you. This is XNC Podcast. This is episode 122. Like I said, David Jaffe was here a year ago on the mark, and it was when Gotham Knights launched. And we started the show talking about if Gotham Knights was even that great of a game. I enjoyed it. But Phase 23 says, thank you for the $20 super. He says, Colt, so Spider-Man 2 is still Gen 8 criteria. Okay, I have to talk about that. He says it's a 91 meta, 2.5 million sales in one day is pretty impressive. Yes, 2.5 million is a record-breaking, fastest-selling PlayStation first-party studio game. When it comes to the Gen 8 criteria, yes, Spider-Man 2 was built on the foundation of Spider-Man 2018, built for a PS4. But when I play this game, how fast you can move through the city, how just all the things you can do, you can blast through over buildings. Everything is just instantaneous. It's really great. Like they pushed it beyond and really made it almost feel like it was built for the ground up for this new hardware. Are you feeling that, Jeffy?
Yeah. I mean, have you had the scene where you've chased after that cameo character who has some abilities to Ratchet and Clank?
Yeah, Ratchet and Clank style, yes. Right. And I mean, right there, I was
especially
like,
especially with that one segment when the train comes, the subway. I mean, there's really good stuff in this game that, you can't. It's they're pushing the tech for sure, which is great. I mean, I don't care about that stuff. If it's entertaining, it's entertaining. But in this case, though, I don't think we could have seen that on the PS4, and that chase scene was pretty cool. So.
Yeah, it is very, very impressive. So today, we'll totally I don't even have the nice smooth transition, but this morning we were met with some news, but I'm not quite sure how big it is, but it's kind of interesting to look at it. Meg, today they announced that on October 25th, which is this Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time or 1 p.m. your time over on the East Coast, it says that there's going to be a game showcase, which is going to be a third-party partners game showcase. Did you read into this and how excited are you?
Well, I think I got to speak on behalf of a lot of people that are more shocked than anything. I wasn't expecting anything at all for the rest of the year. Possibly maybe the Game Awards show in December. I mean, obviously the ABK thing just happened, everything else. So that would take the majority of the news. You still have some big titles coming up for the rest of the year that people are going to play third-party games. But then for them to announce something like this, it really shocked me. I was shocked by it, and I was like, "Wow, they're really, hey, if you're gonna put your boot on someone's neck, you might as well press down, right? I mean, like this is what they're doing right now. You got the ABK thing here. You got some momentum going. You've got the Starfield momentum in September. They won the NPD for that game. And you know what? Why not? Why not keep it going? If it's not going to be first party, then talk about your third party deals that you got in place. That's something that's a gameplay that Sony's been doing for literally decades, is that in between their first party games, when they have that lull between first party games, what do? They focus on those third party games and they make it so enticing to purchase them on the PlayStation that it damn well might as well have been an exclusive at that point, because you've taken the narrative. Right? And the narrative is that, like, for example, I mean, we could say Call of Duty for literally the entire PS4 generation. And then you could talk about even like Red Dead Redemption 2. You remember that? You go to the store. Remember malls, kids? Remember malls? The place where you go and buy stuff? Yeah. Before Amazon, I remember walking through the mall and there'd be a GameStop and there'd be a huge sign and it would say exclusive, and it would say PlayStation, and it would be Red Dead Redemption 2. But then when you got close with a microscope, it would say exclusive slacks and hat, right? If you purchased it on PlayStation.
Exclusive bedazzled chaps, only on PlayStation.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So the thing is, at the end of the day, when you're average Joe Schmo or whatever, and you're walking around and your kid says, hey, I want that new cowboy game or whatever, what's that guy going to see? He's going to see the big blue, and he's going to see PlayStation. He's going to go and say, get me Red Dead Redemption 2 on PlayStation, please. And then they buy it, right? And that's what they do. They focused a lot on that in between first party. Obviously, Xbox is obviously going to be using the same playbook and going to be doing the same thing. They've already released a couple of games now. So now what do you got going on? Between now and the new year, nothing, right? I mean, first party wise, anyways.
Yeah, that takes me into another topic we're going to get into in a minute about the marketing.
Sure.
Which
I don't mean
we will
that in a
get
bad
into that.
way.
No. I mean, there's kind of a.
You want to keep the narrative going. You want to keep the conversation going. You want to keep the mind share going. You got to stay in the news. And this is a 24-hour news cycle now, right? Thanks to CNN 25 years ago, 30 years ago, when they started that. It's all about what have you done for me lately. You got to keep your name in the news constantly. What happens, Colt, when you don't release a video on YouTube every single week? You get tossed out of the algorithm, right? Yeah. Same thing. So...
Yeah, I kind of die a little bit when Jeff, you're making a lot of content. When you don't stay on top of it, a little part of you starts to fizzle out like a flat soda on a counter. Jeff, I got to ask you about this showcase. They hired a new lead, Tina Amini, who used to work for IGN, and they're doing this 20-minute, no talking heads, just state of play style thing. Like, do you have any opinions on this, or is there anything there you want to see? Have you looked into it?
Well, what do you mean they've hired from IGN to do what? To host it or to direct it? What did they?
Yeah, they hired Tina Amini, who used to work for IGN, and she's like their events coordinator, basically.
Okay, so there's a voice, but there's no host. All that. I mean, I don't really care format. I mean, frankly,
do you like that format? Like the state of play?
Yeah. Well, I like any format that is executed well, right? And so what I find is most of these hosts, whether you're talking future game show or you're talking the Xbox stuff when they have their deeper dives or whatever, I find the host excruciatingly difficult to deal with 95% of the time, because the banter it's not that, it's like, they have to be like, I don't know who it's for. Now, again, I'm 52 years old, right? So maybe if you're, if you're 15 years old and you're watching it, maybe you're like, cool, man, these guys are funny. I have aspirational desires to be like that guy.
They're doing the Fortnite dance. Yeah.
Right. I don't know. But when I watch it, I'm just like, it's like, hey, blah, 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 blah. Oh, okay. I mean, it's just dumb crap coming out of their mouths, and you're going, who approved this, right? So every now and then, though, you'll get a good, insightful group of people hosting. But the show itself, though, I'm excited for. I mean, I love Game Pass. I'm a huge Game Pass fan. And I'm hoping, I assume, I know Alan Wake, I mean, unless they drop a surprise bomb, is not going to be a Game Pass game. Right. It might be, given the schedule is Wednesday and the game's coming out Thursday. But I doubt it.
No, I doubt it. That would be.
You never know. But I'm a kid. Look, I come from the Steve Jobs school of "and one more thing," where one more thing really does blow your mind. Back in the day, but I'm excited to see some new Game Pass stuff. I don't give a crap about Ark at all. I know Ark is one of the games they mentioned. Is that the new one with like where Vin Diesel won't put his fucking shirt on?
No, it's not even that. I was actually hoping you would know a little bit about Ark because I'm like scratching what little bit of hair I have in my head about Ark. But this is like the final expansion, Ark Survival Ascended. So it's this really cool trailer that when I load up the game, I'm like, ain't no way the game looks like that. But yeah, I know there's big fans of it.
I don't really care about that game, but yeah, people love it.
But yeah, the Vin Diesel thing's like MIA completely. It's supposed to be out this year.
But I hope we're going to see some really cool stuff that is a couple new Game Pass games or a DLC for Hi-Fi Rush, or I like those, I get giddy and excited whenever Game Pass is like, ooh, here's what's coming new this week or this month or whatever. So I'm excited by the potential because I love stuff like this, but I don't need to see anything from Ark. And if I didn't see anything from Alan Wake other than, hey, this is coming out on Game Pass, I'm kind of like avoiding Alan Wake right now because I'm excited for it. I don't
Same. Yeah, I also don't need to see anything from Alan Wake. The press release says Alan Wake 2, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, Dungeons of Hinterberg, which is a small indie a game I got to preview at E3. It's like a cel-shaded game where you're in a German-style town. What's the word that they use for those? German-style towns. Anyway, it's a German-style town. It's got
anti-Semitic? No? Oh, it's a subgenre. Anyway.
It's a subgenre. There's a...
Now you're making me Google it, but
yeah.
We have one in Washington. It's called Leavenworth, and it's a Bavarian town. Gosh dang it, Jeffy. Gaz from Septic Sauce says, Jeffy.
In this day and age, you got to keep your guard up. Septic Sauce. Jesus fucking Christ, man.
read what he wrote. Read what he wrote.
Why have I betrayed PlayStation? Why have you betrayed Israel? I've seen your content. We had to do a tweet about a conversation about that, me and him. Yeah, I love PlayStation. I mean, that's the thing, I love the games, man. Let me ask you, you don't happen to know the average age of your audience, Colt, do you?
Yeah, it's about 35. Yeah.
So
probably
most of them are probably working adults that have some disposable income.
Except for Risk It for the Biscuit.
Fair enough.
Carry on.
Yeah, the only reason I ask is this is like, I don't really understand. I know Gaz is just joking, but I don't really understand.
Yeah, he is, of course.
The issue. It's like, frankly, you should have every system you can afford. I mean, there's great stuff on Xbox. There's great stuff on PlayStation. I'm playing Super Mario Wonder on Switch right now. It's like the idea that people, I would rather, I've always been surprised that people aren't debating and discussing and being passionate about the content and the games. And I get, I'm
trying to.
Yeah. I'm not talking about you. I'm just saying that in general, it's like they're games, man. Are you really going to deny yourself some of the best games ever made because it's on a box that at this point you can probably get for a couple $100? Just shut up. It's like, why are you even in the conversation? Don't you have to take a nap? Aren't you 10? I don't get it. I just don't get it. There's so much good stuff out there.
A console's not super expensive. Like a PS5 is $550, but maybe it's the breaking point between, I remember when my kids were really small, Jaffe, like buying a PS3 next to my 360 seemed like an unnecessary purchase for a young dad.
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. But even if, there's a lot of things I can't afford. I can't afford a Ferrari, but I'm not going to say it's I'm with you. Car.
Sometimes it seems like over excessive or too excessive to buy two consoles, but they used to be $300 and now they're about $500. So it's not out.
That'll go away.
I feel like people don't want to make the leap sometimes.
It's weird because the games are great on all the systems, really. Hell, even the what was it called? The Ouya? The Ouya had one of the best couch co-op multiplayer games ever that was exclusive for a year called Towerfall.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know if you ever played it. It's single screen, 4-player co-op. It's competitive. It's brilliant. That launched on the Ouya. It's like, the industry is filled with so much content. Let's argue and want to kill each other over the games. Let's talk about, hey, is Dave the Diver too fat to be a video game hero? Right? Because he's a big fat guy.
Is he going to get the bends?
And his name is Dave. I take offense.
Does he walk in 30 frames per second or 60?
It really depends on, I guess, what he's eating.
People I'm eating Toblerone's what I'm eating. I'll be Dave the Diver in a minute. What?
You keep eating Toblerones, you're not going to be in performance mode for very much longer.
No, I'm going to be. I'm in an emotion blur just to get through it. I try to talk about the games.
I hear you. I mean, people are it's what drives a lot of people. I get tribalism. I get the value of building content around that. But end of the day, eventually, I don't know, it doesn't seem sustainable as a content creator, right? I mean, ultimately, what do I know? But to me, it seems like eventually your audience is going to outgrow being 10, even though they're 35. And then what are you left with, right? Like, what have you really offered other than a place to go to beat up on the other guy? Let's have games, man.
I have a small handful. Nobody will believe this, but I've got like 3 or 4 console war videos on my channel, and they didn't do very well. Nobody cares in the grand scheme. I've found when I'm talking about the stuff that I'm excited about, that's when I get a lot of people like, hey, what is this? Let's watch this video, and they can enjoy it. In fact, I wrote a video for the people that were here last week with Gaz and I, and heaven help your ears of my voice and his together. But I talked about you're talking about the games, Jaffe, about how it should be about the games, and with Xbox, it really is all about the games. They don't even care about the console to its fault.
Yeah, and I was showing, great because that's where it's going. I mean,
that's where the industry's going, right? I agree. Yeah. And Xbox
it's so ridiculous. It's like let's go see the Scorsese film, or let's watch it at home. Well, you can't watch it on that TV. What? Shut up. Right? I mean, it's just such a dumb thing that when we look back and we're all much older, and streaming is the norm in 15 years or whatever, probably sooner given what's happening in China, it'll be like you guys argued over the TV set you watched the movie on and not the movie. It's like, yeah, we were fucking idiots, man. Is what I would say.
Well, I mean, we're all about the same age. Did our friends argue about who had the best CD player? Now I don't even want to put a CD in. I love the way I listen to my music. And people say, well, it's different for games. I'm like, why? Because they're $60 or $70? But yeah, I almost made a video.
My best friend had an Intellivision. I had an Atari. We played on each other's systems. Like, you have Dungeons and Dragons. I want that. I have Adventure. I want that. Okay. And again, I'm not trying to be like kumbaya and shit. I get it. I like to stir the crap and everything. I do. But there is a point where I'm just like, oh God, I don't know, man. Let me ask you this. I mean, you seem like a mild-mannered human that gets along with most people. That's probably the trick. I guess trick. He's like, no, Jeffy, that's called just being an adult, you idiot. But I just, I struggle with the snarkiness lately of the internet and the video game snark and all this shit. I just it's not good to be around. Like, I was on NeoGAF last night and I was posting this thing.
Yikes.
And I've always liked NeoGAF.
You're super bored?
No, somebody said something about my tweet and I wanted to clarify. And
about last night, right?
Yeah, and it was just like snark and shots and and I'm like, it's 52 years old. I don't want to do it because I like aspects of NeoGAF a lot, but I'm just like, oh, Jeffy, just delete your account. Go there to get the news that you get from there and move on with your fucking life, because I'm getting tired of it. I mean, is that just me?
You can't even comment anywhere. Like, if somebody knows who you are. A year ago, I commented on a Digital Foundry video. I love those guys. I think they're so great and they're so talented. I love the work they do. I've followed them for years. And I replied on one of their videos last year and I said, hey, really appreciate everything you guys do. You really put a lot of care and attention to your videos and I really enjoy watching them. Well, people saw the Colteastwood name of the check mark and there was like 100 comments calling me names. And all I was doing is just giving praise to Digital Foundry. And my buddy says, Dealer Gaming goes, Colt, you can't do that. I go, why not? He goes, you're going to get attacked there in a neutral place where you can't mute anybody. And then people who like your channel are going to go, oh, I thought people liked Colteastwood. People hate him. Look at this.
Why were they mad at you?
Because they don't like me. They think I'm anti-PlayStation. They think I only, pray to the porcelain or the golden Phil Spencer. And yeah, I mean, all those things that people, it's just kind of a thing. Like, and you got my name and you got the check mark. Maybe they don't know who I am and they click it and they look at this channel and they're like, oh, here's a guy with 100,000 subs who talks only about Xbox. And I hate that because
Xbox. Shut the fuck up, you fucking child, you infant. But
you know what I mean? It's like, and the show isn't about us. We have a lot to talk about, but of course, I mean, it just looks bad that if somebody like watched a few of my videos and they're like, "Oh, I like Colt. He makes pretty good, entertaining videos. They're good. Yeah, he's cool." And then they're like, "Oh, nobody likes this guy. He's an a-hole." And then it's just not a. It's not a. It's not a good thing.
I've told you this a million times. When I talk about with Gary from Nerdrotic, and he's closing in on 1 million subs, right? And the one thing that he's always said, and I've always listened to him when he says it, is that he said, don't be afraid of your audience. He said, do what you do because you love to do what you do. Don't pander. Don't do anything. Don't be afraid of them either. If you hate something that they love, just say, listen, it's not for me. Or you love something that, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter where it is, where you play it, where or where you watch it. Just do what you enjoy to do and hope that people come along for the ride and they enjoy your interpretation and your takes of what it is. And same thing with David. He wants to do what he wants to do. Go right ahead. You ride or die with him or not.
It's not my, my audience sounds arrogant to me, but it's not the people who watch my content. It's the grander vision of people who are out there. And, Colin Moriarty said something to me and I just haven't had the discipline to pull the trigger, but because he was just like, I only use Twitter now. I read it and I only use it now just to let people know when we have stuff upcoming.
That's like what Colin said.
Yeah. He says, but I don't tweet anymore. I don't, it's a one-way street now. The information comes to me. I take the data that I need for my shows, and that's it. Other than using it to advertise for my business, and I get such a kick, such an adrenaline kick with that immediate feedback because I have ADD that it's hard for me to do that. But I think I'm getting to the point where I think I just really need to because I'm tired of. It's just so negative that I think it really colors. What is it they say? Like you are a blend of like the 7 people you spend most time with. Well, one of those people is probably Twitter as a entity.
Entity. Yeah,
and I think it's just what a terrible person to be with. So anyway,
a friend of mine when he got into content creation, he was told by a guy that was the head of Mixer. He said, here's my advice for you on social media. Use it to promote your videos. Don't engage with anybody. He said, you have no business getting into little fights or having people insult you. Just use it to promote your stuff and walk away. And I thought, how unfun is that?
Post and ghost.
Yeah, it's unfun, but it's probably necessary at this point. Let's talk about this Gaz guy. What's wrong with him?
Oh, Gaz wrote in the chat.
We don't have enough time in the show.
You are an anti-PlayStation guy. Where was it? He goes.
Sorry.
He says, "Yeah, I can't find it. Here he is." He goes, "Colt, you are an anti-PS, you whore. That's why we're friends." Yeah, I mean, I do have the things that I don't like for sure, or the people that I argue with or fight with, and some of them I try to do it good-naturedly, if that's a word. But sometimes those people just bother me. But I don't know. That's just how it is. Everybody has their team, I suppose. But, man, people make it personal all the time.
They do. Hey, coming up next, we got Gaz showing up live. He's going to tell us how to make Hanukkah latkes. We know that he wants to wipe Israel off the map and push the Jews in the sea. But He still loves them Lockies. We'll see you next after the break.
For half a second when the music came out, I'm like, oh no, did he actually show up? I'm looking for the square, and I'm like, no.
That sounded I blocked him. I blocked him on everything, but that did sound so odd.
I hope he knows I'm totally teasing him because I've seen him he gets pissed at people because they're like, these guys don't like my politics, and I'm like, dude.
No, he's rolling with that. He loves you, man. I don't know why he does.
I'm a huge fan. He's
amazing. Yeah,
I got the dig. He loves you, man. I don't know why he does. I heard it. Look at that. Yep. That is some Midwestern. I know you're
not Pacific Northwest, Jaffe. So I know, go ahead and bash those people.
That is some non-confrontational. Go to church every Sunday. Still stick the knife in the back, but don't let people know it was you. Horse shit right there.
Passive aggressive cult is the best cult. There isn't a lot to say about this. We were on the tangent, but about this game showcase. But they did say, please note that there will not be any Game Pass information related to the ABK thing. So they really wanted to set expectations that there wouldn't be Game Pass drops. But then it kind of leaves it open. It's like, you're not talking about ABK. Are there any other updates to other games? But I'll just close that discussion by saying I would expect maybe some updates from things they showed in 2022 and 2023 that are third party. Airborne, Flintlock, maybe Stalker, but I doubt it. I feel like Stalker's like getting another entire year delay.
What was the one with the Steely Dan song? Which one was that?
Contraband, but
Contraband. Where did you go?
Isn't that Avalanche?
Yeah.
I heard they asked for another year at the beginning of this year or something, so...
Sorry, that's all I can remember is the Steely Dan song playing. I'm just like, yeah. I just call it the Steely Dan game. Okay, so another year, so we're probably not going to see anything then, right?
I keep thinking we would see it at the next showcase, which we didn't in June. So I guess if we don't see it in this upcoming showcase, I'm like, well, whatever.
Maybe Game Awards?
I mean, it's the Just Cause team that also made Rage 2, so there's some potential there, but it's one of those games I feel like with Xbox, it's one of the couple of games out of their 30 studios there I'm like, you know what I mean, Jaffe? Where I'm kind of like,
yeah. I bet we'll see, somebody, Susa in the chat saying Perfect Dark. I bet we'll see Perfect Dark at Keeley's show, right? Because really? now that Crystal's working on it, it's moving along. It's hard. I mean, I don't know. Look, Xbox has very little that excites me in terms of first party coming that they've announced so far, but to their credit, at least they've announced something. Whereas I think, Sony's Sony. They're doing what they're doing, and they just sold 2.5 million. I'm not knocking Sony, but, it is a little weird that we have no real idea. And probably because the Last of Us factions got put on ice, as they say, maybe that was supposed to be the next big thing. And now that that's on hold, who knows what the next one is. But they're taking a long time, man, to when I was a kid, we had catalogs that shipped with every game you bought, and you could open it and see all the releases available and what was coming in the next couple of years from that company. And it was so exciting, and it motivated you to, I'll mow the lawn more so I can buy Donkey Kong or whatever. And now it's just like, I don't know what, it doesn't mean you won't have games to play, but in terms of
imagine being a 14 or 15-year-old at Mag, and when they announce a game, you're like, I'm going to be graduated from high school when that game comes out.
Absolutely.
I've already said it before. Never mind Sony or never mind Xbox. When Grand Theft Auto 7 comes out, I'm going to be retired. Yeah. You realize that? If you think about
it might be 6 that when you're retired, you old man.
Yeah, think about
Jesus
that. Think about next holiday season. Next holiday season is going to be probably you're going to have Wolverine on PS Pro. And you're probably going to have Sony dropping massive money to get some kind of exclusive for GTA on PS Pro. Maybe, what they should do is spend a shit ton of money and get like the first month exclusive on PlayStation. And then you're going to have all the Activision stuff dropping on Xbox. The new Call of Duty, Diablo will be there. I mean, it's going to be insane. And I really hope that Xbox, for Game Pass's sake, does better marketing about Game Pass, because even this new ad that they put out it's nice and all, but it's kind of like a Sony. It's like a Sony ad though. I need old school Genesis Nintendo ads where it's like, here's what you get with Game Pass. You want Call of Duty 8, whatever the fuck it is, $70, $0. Here's what you get with Game Pass. You want
I need the naked dude flying into his grave is what I need for
I'm just
commercial.
saying, they have such a valuable, wonderful product in Game Pass, and it's like I don't think they've done a very good job of marketing it.
Well, let's talk about that trailer. That's on the topic list, and you bring it up at a perfect time. Let's talk about the marketing.
So you guys know, I have 10 minutes, and then I got to leave. So if there's anything you do want to ask me specifically,
okay,
go with David.
That's what I got.
Let's hold the marketing thing for just a moment, and let's talk about your tweet last night where you said big news broke and people threw a big fit, but I think it's very substantial, and it should be honored for you to explain why this is significant news. I mean, take it. Most of the audience may not know about what the announcement is for PlayStation.
Yeah, I talked about this on my show earlier today. So the gist of it was that I heard last night from a few people from Sony that Connie Booth, who is an executive that's been there since 1989, Uncharted, Ratchet and Clank, Last of Us, Crash Bandicoot, Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, Sly Cooper, on and on and on. And she's not a director. She's not a creative for the most part. She is basically what Matt Booty wishes he was, right? Because the thing I've always said on my channels and my videos is that I love Phil Spencer's vision for Xbox and I love his vision for Game Pass. I don't think they are good yet at the creative executive management job. Like Connie Booth would have never allowed Redfall. The idea that Phil Spencer stepped in and said, "Oh, we should have been more involved." That's what Connie learned in 1994, right? I'm not knocking Phil on this. I'm just saying that the reason it was it is big news. Whether she was fired or she walked away is still TBD. Although I hear she was fired. I also heard her whole team was fired. I heard the lady who used to run Guerrilla is coming in to take over. And I heard.
I looked at that list. It doesn't look like anything it was like all success. It was like a success rap sheet, bro.
It's not like she's like, yeah, but she's like 60 and she's going to retire and she doesn't really get the business anymore. She just put out Spider-Man 2. Shut up. Right. I mean, again, Insomniac made it.
Yeah.
But you have to understand what Xbox first party struggles with consistently seems to be their inexperience with managing the creatives both internally and externally, and it gets them into all kinds of trouble. And the fact that Sony, one of their magic arrows is that they have curated over the decades such a great understanding of how to manage the process of making video games. And I'm like, hey, whether or not it was forced or not, you're losing someone who has really been there from the beginning, and really there's a lot of institutionalized knowledge about making games that you love and why you love them, because she knows when to push. She knows when to bring in more talent. She knows where to find more talent, blah, blah, blah. She knows when to cancel something, when to give something 6 more months, whatever. And so that to me was a very big deal, and it remains a very big deal. And I still don't have all the data on what happened. And yeah, I had a bunch of people come at me like, "Oh, that's that's not news, and who cares?" And
they wanted Yoshida to,
and somebody's like, "The janitor at Sony worked there for 20 years. He's leaving." It's like, when again, this is why I just get frustrated. I'm like, you know what, motherfucker? It's like people are like, "Oh, yeah, your last game was drawn to death." Yeah, I made a flop. I also fucking made Twisted Metal 2, Twisted Metal Black, Twisted Metal 2012, God of War 2 creative director. Both of my motherfucking hit games. God of War is going to become a TV series, and Twisted Metal just finished its first successful season. So shut the fuck up. Do I not get one failure? Do I not get to make one? But
no, not in this community. Right. Absolutely not.
So to them, that is sort of equivalent of going, anything you say, you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, motherfucker, I am telling you how the sausage is made. I am telling you the reason you love PlayStation like you do, and the reason Xbox struggles when they struggle, is this is a secret sauce that I saw being made for the first time when PlayStation was founded, because we canceled so many games, and we spent so much money learning how to do this.
What was some of the criteria or reasons why a game would need to be canceled or shelved?
Well, Connie worked on a game called The Diabolical Adventures of Tobu, right? So it was a beautiful art style.
Of the Toblerone bar?
Yeah, it was Studio Ghibli inspired. You were this sort of Asian kid with these Da Vinci wings that flew around. And the lesson there was everyone fell in love with the IP. They fell in love with the art style. The guy who could pitch it could, as they say, sell ice to people living in Antarctica. And the lesson was, all that's great, but if you don't understand the game loop, if you don't understand the core mechanics, either before you start or in the first 6 months, you have nothing. That game went on for 3 years of development before they finally were like, there's no game here.
Which is an eternity back then.
Yeah. And so that's what I'm saying. That's not like, that knowledge doesn't just, unless you have somebody on staff that can train people how that works, I mean, I don't know Matt Booty. I've heard he's a very nice guy. Whenever I've seen one of interviews, I'm like, he seems like a really nice guy. But
that's not what I want.
I looked at what he's done. It's like, it's not like he's ever been deep in he did some sound stuff and some marketing. I'm not saying he's not a valuable asset for Xbox, but I'm like, is he really the guy you want? What are his chops, right? So I was basically saying, hey, Sony people, I'm telling you, this is important. And the fact that it wasn't Shu getting fired or Jim Ryan coming into the office with, battery-powered paint guns and shooting all the people. I'm like,
right, yeah.
I'm like,
or the white Bronco chase down the freeway. Yeah, it wasn't your big news.
I get it. It's my fault because, it's not the Gen Pop's job to have the context for something like this. And maybe I dropped the ball in that I didn't really set it up. I assumed by now they understood the value of people like Connie and her team. But yeah, they were just dicks, man. And I'm just like, fuck off. I'm gonna disappear into my channel, my community, my Discord, and I'll be on people's shows when they ask me, and all that access, fuck you.
That's exactly what I wanted to say. You're so accessible. If you're a content creator, you make yourself so accessible to everybody, and everyone has an opinion. They're like the pro bono community manager for you that you never asked for. But I also have to give you a sort of an explanation how, as we wrap up for you here, as a content creator, how do I say this? You
try English, bitch.
You'll understand you'll understand why I'm trying to say this. Like, I'm not saying, let me just kind of preface it like the clickbait thing. The clickbait thing. As a content creator, you have to work so hard to get people to get off their lazy, how do I say it? People are just like, should I click on this? Is this going to be worth my time to check this out? I'm so busy. And I know that's kind of condescending, but as a content creator, you want to allure people to check out your content. Now, David's got news that somebody with a huge rap sheet of 30 years of success, like when I looked at the IPs, like I looked at it for like this fast, and all I saw was every amazing IP that PlayStation has ever been in control of. And you said this is what she produced and brought to the table, and you said she left. Like, people are like, they wanted Yoshida being chased down the freeway, with I don't know.
But again, I just think for me, I spent 20 something years making games. I've only spent about 4 years doing this. And so I'm still learning. And I think it's one of those things where, and Alexa, stop. It's one of those things where you have to figure out the balance between the people that are really your community that you can just be upfront and honest with, and the fact that most people are just there, they're there to be entertained and have some time wasted, and nothing's wrong with that, but don't leave yourself open at an accessibility level, because it's just a bad mental health recipe. And so I'm still loving it. I still love doing it. I plan on doing it for a long time, but I definitely think my accessibility doors are starting to shut a little bit. Because
you still got that smile on your face, which is really super important.
I love it. It's so much fun. I'm just tired of people so fucking.
They're miserable.
And they're
miserable. And when I say like people are too lazy to click on something, I'm being facetious, right? But
I know. Yeah,
it's just really about how everybody in this business has to try to lure you over to catch your attention. Like, hey, you got to come check this out. Look, I took some time to put this together for you. And Jeff, we appreciate everything you do. I'm looking forward to it.
I appreciate it. Thanks, man.
As you head out, tell people like what you have planned on your channel and for your podcast, your streams, so they can go, oh, do I have time to click this and go check it out?
My job when it comes to that, though, is to give you a reason to come to the show. I absolutely do not feel that condescension that Eastwood has for you guys in his chat. So come on over. Because I want
everybody leave.
Yeah, I know. I like the idea that I have to work hard to get someone's attention and keep it. That's part of the fun. That's part of the challenge. Yeah. But I get it. Sometimes it's just like, it's not clickbait. That's the one thing that really gets under my skin too. It's clickbait. Why? Because I'm marketing it. I could just put, my title of my thumbnail, the seemingly invisible but actually quite important results that could arise from the alleged exiting of Connie Booth from PlayStation. I could do that, and then
it's
there's
compelling.
Right. But I don't lie. I say, hey, here's what I am, just people, whatever. Here's the point. At David Scott Jaffe on Twitter, and at David Jaffe Games on the YouTubes. I'm not part of Last Stand Media, but I'm on their stuff a lot. I'll be doing a Constellations this week.
Awesome.
And we have a Discord. So, God damn, that was fun, Colt Eastwood. Are you related to the Clint Eastwood?
Yes. Yeah, he's my dad. He's coming home a little bit later. We're gonna have some barbecued donkey.
Do you
it's gonna
like
be amazing.
To tease him and call him Clit Eastwood?
Once in a while, yeah. Mag with the soundboard, love it.
Oh my god.
So, but it's nice to be here. Thanks for having me, fellas. MAGA, thank you so much.
That's gonna be a really a divisive name.
Well, it's weird. You're just one letter off.
When I first came up with it, I was like, because it's a middle-aged game guy, right? And everybody was like, why don't you just call yourself MAGA? I'm like, because everybody's going to say MAGA, and then some people are going to love me, some people are going to hate me. People still call me MAGA anyway. Thanks, David. You just brought it back. Anyways.
Sorry, I apologize.
Go enjoy.
The good news is if you actually changed it to MAGA, you probably wouldn't, they wouldn't fine you because they have to know how to turn on their electricity to start the computer.
Oh, my Lord.
Don't worry about it.
Jeff, we appreciate you. Thanks.
Coming up next, we'll show you how to make French fries out of your butthole. All right, fellas, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Enjoy family time, brother. Enjoy.
I will.
Yeah.
Bye, you guys.
See ya.
Later.
Well, Meg, I don't know.
Thanks.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That is. There were some moments there where I don't think I've quite grown up yet, Meg. But I appreciate you being here.
Hey man, we're demonetized anyway, so you might as well just have some fun now.
Might as well. Yeah, I'll just take my shirt off. We have a bunch of other news I want to get to. That Mag and I are going to get into talking about the new marketing arm that Xbox has come up. We have a lot to talk about with that. Also, Phil's talked about revisiting franchises. We're going to talk about some new Xbox games that are announced, that are in the works, and some Fallout stuff. So we've got a good show ahead of us, and we really appreciate you being here. There's been about 900 people live, so hit the like button if you're enjoying the show. Mag and I are going to get back to, we'll just try and just hold it together without Jaffe here. He is quite the character, and I really appreciate his insight, Mag. I mean, he's been in this industry forever. Like, the industry really popped off, and the PlayStation came out, and then the Xbox came up, and the Dreamcast, and it's crazy. It's pretty awesome to have him here. So let me get some supers and we'll get into our talking about the marketing thing. God Emperor Sofa King with member chat says, in my opinion, Spooderman is a modern, I don't know what that word is, slop gaming. They made us clean up Peter's house. Like, bruh, Jaffe, I wish you still made God of War. I should have read that one while he's here. Highlander001, thank you for the 5. He says, I'm so old. My dad got us the first video game system, and it was Pong, that 2 sticks and a bucking block. I'm okay with the bugs of today. I agree. I don't even think they're that bad. Maxie Coleman, thank you for the RS50, says, very respectfully, my opinion is that we need to stop taking so much about their games into our shows. I don't know what. That might have been when we were talking about Spider-Man. Danny Patch Official, thank you for the 5, says, the way I know a game scene is boring is when the time to reply comes, and I feel like I don't want to reply to the game due to that specific scene.
I think he meant replay, but I think he meant replay when you have to go back and replay it. If you're going doing like a new game plus or something, or like at a harder difficulty. You know what? He's not wrong. I'll tell you that. He's not wrong because there are moments. But for a first run through of a story, I have no issue with it. But yes, it does get tedious if you're going back. Let's say you're going for an achievement or a trophy or whatever you're doing, and you got to play it on like whatever, the hardest difficulty. It is pretty irritating. Like, oh my God, I got to walk for 8 minutes. And it does suck. It does suck. I'm not going to lie. I will bend the knee to that. Carry on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was replaying. Like I said, I played Spider-Man for like 8 hours yesterday, and then I played like 2 hours of Gotham Knights because I didn't finish it on Xbox, only played it on PC. And I was like, oh, here comes that one part I don't like. And then that was fine. Sometimes you have to push yourself to replay a game. It's kind of funny that way. Juan, thank you so much for the Dominican peso. He says, usually the showcase hosts are super cringeworthy and unrelatable. And I was going to say while Jaffe was here, Mag, that I think the days of having hosts in these streamed shows are completely gone. But Xbox has done it a little bit, but they're not on screen very long, if you remember. Like Jim Ryan and Phil. Their
screen time is getting less and less, and it's actually okay because at the end of the day, no one's really watching for the personalities. They're watching to see what the big game is, what the big trailer is, whatever else, right? So it does make sense. It does make sense. I mean, at the end of the day, like that's what you're watching for. Although you always want Phil on there, or
you
Jim
do.
Ryan,
You want to see a little Sarah Bond. You want to see a little bit of Phil.
It's always going to be that one last thing. It comes from those people, right? So that's why you kind of look forward to like seeing Phil or even and eventually Sarah Bond, who's going to take his job. Well, you heard that here first, folks. And then of course whoever Jim Ryan's successor is going to be, right? So
David
permanent
Jaffe.
Successor. Yeah, David Jaffe, obviously. Yeah, so you look forward to it for those reasons because but you don't want them the whole show. I'm
good with it. Like Phil usually comes on and goes, Xbox is all about creating great game. There's something he does with his hand I've noticed a lot. He does something like this.
He does
something like that. And he's like, it's all about making great games, and this studio is no stranger to making games that you can play. And then he shows the trailer, and I'm fine with that. The Casual Noob Gamer with the $2 says, I hope Mag didn't Google a word that was brought up, and then he puts up it's getting a little political, but I love you guys. Risk It for the Biscuit says, Mag is completely wrong. Mostly, sure, I don't work, but my mom has enough disposable income for me, and my basement is way better than most people's. And then he puts a little sad emoji. But shout out to Risk It.
Word is he actually moved to the tool shed because his mother doesn't even want to hear him talking anymore. So he's out in the tool shed now. He's out there with the kookaburras and the whatever the hell else they got crawling around Australia, crazy animals and insects.
Those big spiders, kookaburras.
It's a bird. Yeah.
Oh, okay. What are those like little anteater looking like bears, like bear pigs? They're real small. They're in Far Cry. This is a nature show today.
It sounds like a made up animal.
It starts with a T. It's like looks like a little miniature bear with a long snout, and it's like a two-tone little. It's in Far Cry
You sure it's not just called an aardvark or an anteater?
It's like, no, it's like, I mean, aardvarks. You know what? I'm not even gonna, you know what? I don't even know anymore. It doesn't matter. Somebody's gonna say it while I'm not looking.
Lone Star, thank you. Sorry, he was mentioning the cabinets behind me. I got another one coming. I got an NFL Blitz coming at some point.
And that's what I'm coming over, because I love that game.
That one's been tough to get my hands on.
Tape here. There it is. Yes, I want to see NFL Blitz. I love that game. When that game came out on the PlayStation 1, my brother-in-law and I, when he was like 14, we would laugh so hard. Sitting on, late hitting, just dogpiling on after the whistle was blown. That game is fantastic. Like, I think every game, like MLB, FIFA, and Madden, should have a mode where it's just like lets you just, because like the old NBA Live 99 had a mode where you could turn off fouling, and like Shaq go, I'm Shaq, and we would just go boom and just push him over, and it makes the game better.
And you could shatter the glass if you did it oh so right with Shaq. You could shatter the backboard. That was always the fun thing. Yeah.
He goes, Gopa. Is Gopa medicated? Poochie, member for 27 months. That's a long time. Poochie, thank you very much. He says it's more of a been there, done that as it pertains to Sony. A lot of their games started to blend for me. I still recognize the devs' mastery though, and I completely agree with him. I really felt like that Insomniac was like honing the Naughty Dog style PlayStation formula and like saying, hey, we're part of the family now. Let's kind of bring this cohesive thing together. And some of it makes me really roll my eyes. But yeah, the game's fantastic. Boner Jams with a 10 says, ooh, snooky now. Colt 45 East West and Megatron forming the sinister duo of Vicious and Delicious. You're Delicious, right?
Obviously. Carry on, yes.
Not sure which is which, but I digress, he says. Hope everyone has a great week. Shout out to Boner Jams and his show Under the Bus, which is live on Wednesdays on YouTube. Dean Rivera with a $5 says, I have both systems, enjoy the games on both, but Xbox is my favorite system and always has been, but it doesn't stop me from enjoying games everywhere. Good. Just when you get on social media, make sure you insult people who don't like what you like, and then you're good, right, Mag?
Obviously, yeah, that's the way it goes. That's hey, when I do my video. By the way, someone in the chat here just wanted to say hi to me, and my God, this name is long. It's Elika D Bobies. Says I just wanted to drop by and say he's a big fan and I love your Twitter videos and skits and all that. And hilarious. Thank you very much. Your name is extremely long. We're gonna find a way. To shorten it up.
Me
like the
the boobies.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. I didn't want to say that, Colt. So I tried to make it sound like
with the accent. With the accent, it's okay. How many views do you have on TikTok with these skits that
TikTok not as much because I just kind of started that and I didn't get any grasp over there. But the other videos anywhere from 100,000 to 500,000
on Twitter.
On Twitter, yeah.
That's
but
awesome.
in total in the millions.
Dang, bro.
So,
dang.
Yeah. So it's hey, man. It is what it is, and that people enjoy it. And I like it. I like doing it. It's fun. And yes, I understand. Oh, Percolator just had to show up. Hello, MAGA. Thanks, buddy. How's it going? Have a drink, because you know what I'm going to say anyways, or whatever the hell else you guys count me saying. Carry on, Colt.
I'm trying to think of that other thing that you said, because somebody wrote it in the chat randomly. I can't remember what it is. When I think of it, I'm going to yell it in your voice. Snow Dragon, thank you for the Canadian 2 says, is this like a 40 midlife crisis thing? Yes, it is. Grandpa Barbecue Game Cat, one of our favorite names, gifted a channel membership to Talos Ray. Welcome to channel membership. I think Talos has been in that hot seat before, but thank you again. Risk for the Biscuit. Well, the Australian 8. We've got to get to this marketing thing. Jaffe, these internet fools don't know what effect team members inside companies can have on a huge effect on the output they love. Also, keep your beard. I remember Brisket shaved his off like 3 days ago, and it's already like out to here. Because I saw a video of him on Twitter yesterday. I'm like, man, that grew in fast. Bionic Wolf says, calling all cars was awesome, which is another game that Jaffe worked on. Udonis says, I've been cleaning, doing damage control for Xbox for years, and they just let me go. I don't get paid, and there's a restraining order. One more. Casual Noob Gamer, thanks for 5. Says, sorry, didn't mean to get political, but certain words on Google can bring up sites on your computer that may put you on a list. Love you guys and Jaffe. Yeah, probably. I mean, the FBI's been watching me for years, Meg. But,
yeah, well, hey, they practically moved next door. I mean, there's been an ice cream truck parked in front of my house for about 10 years, and I never see them selling ice cream. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Right when you said that, I could hear outside.
Yeah. Oh, and then tomorrow there's a flower truck parked in front of my house. It's going to be called John's Flower Service. And they're like, oh, now there's a flower truck.
Then the next week it's a van that says Bob's Rubber Band Emporium. Yeah, with a 555 phone number on it. But yeah, we appreciate you guys. I got to talk to you about this marketing thing briefly.
Sure, let's do that.
This trailer showed Hellblade, Starfield, and Cyberpunk. I mean, what did you think about this trailer? I was going to say be honest, but I mean, that's really all we do.
Listen, that's the word, by the way. That's the word that I always get nailed for. Whenever I say listen, or anyhow, or anyways, that's the other one that I get nailed for. Yeah, take a drink, everybody. All right, so here's the thing. Once again, they're doing a great job in terms of showing what they got. What I think that they're lacking is being able to reach the casuals. And that is something that Jaffe just kind of touched on. Like, if you want to do marketing, do some simple marketing that people... he's going to eat the other half of the Toblerone. You see? It's impossible to resist because it's so damn good. Go ahead, eat, Colt. Eat away while I just yammer on. My thought is this. They need...
Here's the thing. Yes. That's what you say.
Yeah. Here's the thing, which I didn't say, by the way. I didn't say. But now I'm going to say it. Here's the thing. When you got a game that's $70... You literally did
before, but go ahead.
I know. I can't help myself. $70. Then you could turn around and say Game Pass. $10. You know what I mean? Just put it out in black and white, nice and simple, and say, "Hey, you guys want that hot game? Here it is, $70 on
You're
PlayStation.
Right. There wasn't
Xbox? Put it on $10 or whatever."
There wasn't a call to action in this ad, which is a really expensive ad. Like it should have ended with, like, Cyberpunk's not in Game Pass, but the trailer tries to say, "You want to fly a spaceship and jump really high? We have a game for you. You want to run around with a torch and not ever seen gameplay," which we're going to talk about in a minute. We've got a game set up for you. Like, it wasn't a Game Pass ad. It really was briefly a console ad.
Right, but if you're trying to push that service and you're trying to build that subscription service, because that's, at the end of the day, that's what you're doing, right? You're not going to be building these games. If people are going to buy, like, okay, Starfield sold very well outside of Game Pass. I would have to imagine that a majority of that would have been on PC, right? Because it was on Steam, if I'm not mistaken, right? So you could probably get at least 1 or 2 million right off the rip just from Steam. The Sousa, how dare you say that Toblerone sucks? It's a what? You know what? I'm going to do an entire video of me eating 5 pounds of Toblerone at Christmas time just for him, and I'm going to make sure he's tagged in it.
I'm getting diabetes just trying it out right now, bro.
Dude,
I can hear it.
It's just Swiss chocolate just does something for me. So
the Swiss chocolate.
The thing is, if you're going,
Meg, the Swiss chocolate is particularly good, and the creamy, smooth flavors go down my esophagus so wonderfully.
And the milk from the chocolate is actually made from free-range cows, only found in northern Switzerland in the mountains. Did you know that, Colteastwood? And they are massaged before they are milked.
So am I.
Woo!
I got to ask you about.
Yeah, sorry, let me get this off my chest. Put out an ad and say $70 here, $10 here. Who are you gonna pick? That's what you got to market to. Not us, not you.
Oh
not
my
me,
gosh!
Not the
Seriously?
Chat.
Are you hearing that, audience? What you're saying? Like, Meg is saying that they should say Cyberpunk. Do you want to? Well, I mean, you can't say it with Cyberpunk, but 2 of the games were exclusive, but one of them was a multiplayer. Right. I don't know if that marketing works for that trailer. But
Liza P.
Should they do a trailer where? What Meg's saying is, Xbox should do a trailer where they say, "You want to play Liza P? You want to play whatever games are hot now on Game Pass and everywhere else. You want to pay $10 or do you want to pay $70?"
Right, that's what I'm saying.
That's brutal.
But
do you think Xbox could do something like that?
Well, why not? But like,
I love it.
I don't get. Why wouldn't you? Isn't that what actually is happening? So why are you denying what's actually happening right in front of your face? If that's what they're doing, then why don't you just say that? And I understand that there's a part of it where they're like, okay, well, it's very corporate. We don't want to step on people's toes. To hell with that, because I'll tell you one thing. The minute you put your guard down, Sony's going to put a sword through your throat. Okay?
I'm putting it in the poll.
They're going to do it. They're going to do it to you. Why not do it to them? And you got to keep, like I said, you got to keep it very simple and it's like I said, it's not for you, Colt. It's not for me. It's not for the chat. It's not for the people that are listening later. We're all gamers that are invested in the ecosystems. We know how much the stuff costs over here. We know how much it costs over here. You're not marketing to us. You're marketing to the parents who don't know. You're marketing to the people who just are casual, like, oh yeah, like I buy like 2 games a year. They buy FIFA and Call of Duty or whatever, right? They buy Madden and Call of Duty. That's it. You're marketing to those people. If a parent walks into GameStop completely clueless and says, yeah, my son wants to play this video game, well, then, you know what I'm saying? Then that's where you take them over to the thing and say, look, you got this and you got this. But they see the ad on TV and they go, oh, well, I saw the ad on TV that says the game that little Jimmy wants to play is $70 over here, but it's $10 over here. Please tell me more. Right?
Call of Duty.
And then the sales consultant or whatever, the people working there could say, oh, yeah, I think you're talking about Game Pass. You can get Game Pass over here or whatever, blah, blah. That's how you do it. You just keep it simple. Keep it, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have, this is not rocket science. This isn't magic. This isn't anything. Just put it out there, man. And just say exactly how it is. Put it on billboards. You know what I mean? Remember the old days when they used to have the guy dressed up as Crash Bandicoot and used to scream outside the Sega headquarters with the megaphone? Yeah. Like, they just call them straight out. And then they eventually put him out of business, funny enough. But
they had Evil Knievel on one of the ads, and he goes, it's Crash Colonel. Because he calls him Cash in the commercial.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, I remember all those ads. And they were cutthroat. They were hilarious. But guess what? It's 20 years later. I still remember those commercials because that means it worked. They worked. They were straightforward to the point.
Let me ask you about Hellblade, because I'm actually getting frustrated, and a lot of Xbox fans weren't happy that I was frustrated about Hellblade. We've seen about 15 vignettes or trailers or advertisements or reveals for Hellblade 2 Senua's Saga, Mag. And Jez Gordon of Windows Central says, why are they hiding combat? And I was like, yeah, why haven't we seen it? The game is supposed to come out, as far as I know, based on things I've talked to people about. It seems like Hellblade is supposed to be here before the showcase in June. So maybe early spring, maybe late spring. Like, they're ramping up all this stuff. Sorry, this is a long lead into the question, Mag. Where is the combat? And I'm frustrated. Are you?
You know, I got to tell you, but by the way, before I get into that, look at your poll that you just put out.
I love it.
Should Xbox marketing go for the PS throat? 81% said yes so far. I mean, it's fluctuating back and forth, but it's sitting at 80% and above. The people have spoken. Not everybody, but the majority of the people have spoken. Therefore, this is what people. Not the thing is, if this is what you're trying to do, you got to go for it. What did Phil do in 2019? He stepped on the stage at the Game Awards, and he literally just blew everybody away with a 12-gauge shotgun and just said, oh, by the way, here's the Series X. Nobody knew what was going on. Sony was scared out of their minds. They had no idea what the hell was going on. And then they're like, oh, and by the way, here's a trailer of what's it called? Senua's Saga, which now I'm going to dovetail into. I said this a million times on this show, on Boom's show, on Noof Nukem's show, okay? I am tired of developer diaries of them sitting on the beach
in a hot tub
in a hot tub in Iceland, taking videos of rocks and saying, this is the rock that you're going to see in the game. I don't care about the rocks.
And I don't need to see anymore.
I'm not even going to scream.
Watch out, he's going to get you.
Yeah, and like the mocap stuff. Holy Christ in heaven. 4 years of mocap. What are we filming here? The Lord of the Rings trilogy?
They're like, I love Ninja Theory. I love the way that they show their stuff, right? But how many times do I need to see, we're putting the makeup on Senua before we put her on camera? I'm like, give her a sword! Give her a freaking sword, please!
Listen,
they literally showed. They were excited. They said that they hired the stunt coordinator from the Star Wars movies. I meant to look up the other things that this guy has done, but he's done stunt coordinating for sword play and lightsaber play. And he's teaching her how to do this stuff that they're going to motion capture. And they said, you're not going to do anything in the game that you can't physically do in real life. So she was like getting in shape. She was tumbling on mats and doing all this stuff. And she was committed to do more because the old game was like swipe, swipe, parry, swipe, swipe. So they're telling us there's going to be more to combat, and they've shown us nothing.
You know, the thing is, I'm going to get into a very uncomfortable question that I want to ask you, and I want to ask the chat, obviously.
All right. How uncomfortable could it be, Mag? We had Jaffe here. He said some pretty funny stuff.
No, not that like kind of uncomfortable. I mean, uncomfortable conversation of like,
sure.
Holy crap, where's this game actually going? I'm going to get into that in a second. I was just going to say the thing is that when you're showing all these things, forget it. I'm just going to say it. Sorry, I'm dancing around it. Do you actually think that maybe this game is not what we actually think it is?
Now that is one of the questions that some of us have been asking ourselves. Like, maybe there isn't going to be very much combat, but the thing I just told you when I funnily yelled, like, give her a sword, right?
Sure.
That I would agree with your first question. Like, oh, maybe this game doesn't really have very much combat, but they showed a whole 8-minute video about them holding these swords or these shields and everything. And all of them were doing all this pre-planning before they got in the motion capture studio.
Sure.
I mean, but Mag, now that I think about it, I didn't think of this before. But I think all of that, it could be for the motion capture cutscenes. What if? Ask it again, Mag. It's your question.
Now, the thing is, I actually thought about this too. I have a feeling, just judging by what some people are saying, not everybody, but some people in the community are saying, I think people are thinking this is going to be like an Assassin's Creed Valhalla kind of game or a God of War kind of game. I think you're going to be sorely mistaken, and I think you're going to be highly disappointed. I don't think it's going to be that game. If it is going to be that kind of game, they would have shown us that already. I'm not saying it's bad, so please don't get all crazy and psychotic or whatever. And
the first one won awards and was highly rated, and
I love that game.
It was the best indie of the year.
When it came on Game Pass, I got 1,000 of 1,000 on that game. I adored it. I went back and played it twice. I thought it was great. I love Ninja Theory. I love Heavenly Sword. Yeah, crush that Toblerone, baby.
It's done. I'm still listening.
I loved Heavenly Sword on PS3. Remember that game with the woman with the red hair? God, I wish they would go back and play. You know what? If you want to go back and do an IP later on after the Senua's Saga is over, please go make a new Heavenly Sword. Reboot it from the ground up. I would be all into that.
Enslaved Odyssey of the West was fantastic.
Yes, great game. I have a feeling that this may not be what everybody thinks it is. And like I said, I think people are thinking this, but some people, not everybody. I said the way that they're talking, the way that they're acting about it, is like they think this might be like a God of War 2018 kind of game, or Ragnarok kind of game, or a Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I think it's going to be more of the same of what we got before, and I think just a little bit more expanded in terms. I would say
yes. I would say this one might feel a little more open world like. I would say maybe there's just as much combat as the first game. Maybe it's a little longer.
That's what I'm saying, like grander.
It's got to be that same formula that everybody loves. But everyone said the combat was kind of got old. So maybe the combat is just more improved or more nuanced, and it's just a next generation version of a new Senua game, I guess. I mean, a new Hellblade game.
And there's nothing wrong with that because, like I said, I love the first one, and I am sort of expecting that, but just on a grander scale and maybe maybe a little bit more stretched out in terms of the combat. Let's say, okay, well, we had a little bit of combat in the first game. It wasn't really combat; it was basically just parry and swing, right? You remember that when those big like weird things that look like they look like the ring wraiths from this is the second time I'm bringing up Lord of the Rings tonight, but they kind of look like those big ring wraiths from Lord of the Rings. They come and then you do the parry and then you do the big swing. I thought that was dope, and I was like,
I didn't mind
more
that.
of this. Yeah. I was like, more of this.
Yeah, don't call me Scooter in the chat. It's like, well, WTF is taking so long, and I really feel like, what is taking so long? I know that they had an entire year where they couldn't do motion capture, so that was all on hold. And then a year after the pandemic, they got back to work, but it just seems like some people are like, is Ninja Theory just taking Microsoft's like unlimited pot of money and just taking their time? I don't
think so. I don't think that that's the case. I think that what they're trying to do is now that they have access to money and R&D, I think that they're really trying to push the limits of their imagination. I know that sounds really that sounds really like politically correct or whatever, or maybe like a little bit rehearsed or whatever. But no, I think that that's what they're actually doing. I think that they're really trying to push the technology forward to bring us something that's so visually stunning and so interesting that you won't be able to keep your eyes off it, right? And I think that that's great. I have no problem with that. I think it's wonderful. But I think that a lot of people are kind of, because it's taking such a long time and because of the subject matter of the game, I think people are thinking it's going to be something that it's not. So I think that people should be really well aware, or at least prepared for the fact that it ain't going to be like a full all-out, Viking action game or something.
It's not going to be a different game. Yeah, I would double down and say, yeah, expect this to be a bigger and better Senuous
bigger and better part
sacrifice.
One.
Yeah.
A bigger and better part one. Yeah, that's exactly
I put up a poll. I said, are you concerned about the combat? And it's kind of mixed. 37% say yes, 63% say no. Meaning there are a good amount of people that are concerned. I guess maybe our concern would be, why aren't they showing it? Or am I going to like the combat? And I'm pretty sure most of you would think, I'm sure I'll like the combat. Is there going to be enough combat? And that's kind of where the concern comes in. Because there might be people say, I really liked the game, but it was 5 hours and it seemed like you didn't do much combat. And then it was over and you're like, that was really cool, but I want something bigger this time around. And there's just a lot of potential there. And I feel like Ninja Theory has given us a lot of the same style trailers over and over. Let's move on because there is a new game in the works. Xbox has a bunch of new games. I don't know if this is going to be something that we see on Wednesday, but People Can Fly, the team behind Bulletstorm and Outriders, and also the team that made Gears of War Judgment. I actually like that game.
Love that game.
Right?
Love that game.
Yeah,
they're to me, it's the dark horse winner for the Gears of War series. I was
a little bit like feeling done with Gears because there was like 4 Gears games that generation, and I think a friend bought me Gears Judgment. I was like, I'm trying to lead this into People Can Fly, and I was like, I'm kind of like Gearsed out, but he bought me the game, like I'll play it, and I was so glad I played it because I enjoyed it so much. People Can Fly are really special. When they put out Bulletstorm, you laugh your head off. It's just so punchy. It still holds up. I bought it on PC a few years ago, and then now it's got a remaster at 60 on the console, and just so good. And they're apparently working on a AAA exclusive for Xbox named Project Maverick, which is there's also another studio making a game called Project Maverick, but this is the People Can Fly studio that put their game day one in Game Pass with Outriders. And Windows Central wrote an article about this saying, could it be a spin-off Gears game? We've been kind of hearing some rumors about this, or is it just a whole new... Normally they make third person, but Bulletstorm was first. I mean, I don't know if you know a lot about People Can Fly, or what are you thinking we could see from this? This is another game that might have been in the works for at least a year or two.
I don't think it's going to be a Gears spin-off. If it's going to be a Gears spin-off, I think we would have heard something by now. They wouldn't keep it as top secret as they would, because you know that the Coalition would be involved in some way, form. And if Coalition is involved, you know that we would have heard about it. So therefore, I think this is an entirely new IP. However, they seem to be really, really good at that third-person sort of chunky action shooter kind of vibe. Like for example, with the Gears of War Judgment, you know how it is. It's just a very, heavy third person kind of a weighty, gun game. Then you go into Outriders. I know people were divided on that. I loved that game. I got all 1,000 achievements on that game.
I was divided on it.
I loved it. I thought it was so much fun. I couldn't stop playing it. I used the dude where he did the thing where he shot fire, like waves of fire out of his hand or whatever. I love that game, and I just kept playing it, playing it. Just
the alley of fire.
Yeah, the alley of fire. That was the dude I used, and it was just like do that thing. Anyway, love the game. I love the way it played. I love the way it looked.
Is there a lot of potential there, Mag, with People Can Fly?
I think there is a lot, yes. And because of those 2 games that they released, specifically those 2, Gears of War Judgment and Outriders, I'm personally looking forward to whatever they're working on, and I think it's great. If they're doing anything in partnership with Xbox, it's going to go day one in Game Pass. they saw success with Outriders.
I mean, it might be an
That's if I'm not
exclusive.
mistaken.
Shoot, I don't think I have the exact quote. I wrote exclusive project, but I think it might be exclusive. But like you said,
if it's exclusive,
if not, it's a day and date Game Pass game. But sounds
they
like
have
they're
a
partnering.
great working history.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They have a great working history together. They've been doing it for years and years. They've been partnering it up, and I'm actually really quite surprised that they haven't made their way into the first party fold. Right.
Right.
So like doesn't that make sense?
Do you remember where they are, Meg? Where people can fly out
Poland.
of? Yeah.
Poland.
So they're like, Xbox said multiple times that they've wanted to acquire somebody from Eastern Europe and have that like presence there to build from that part of the world and represent there. And that's where like the Techland Dying Light 2 rumor was kind of brewing a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm
Some
kind of excited about
saying
that.
it is an exclusive, by the way.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I don't always copy and paste stuff from where I get it. But yeah, that does sound really cool. Kirk Adams says, what about an RPG Gears? You know I'd freaking love that, but people get mad when I say I would like an RPG Gears. But if it's a spin-off while we wait for Gears 6, bring it to me. Bring it to me raw and riddling.
Yeah, I like I said, I don't think it would be Gears. I don't think it's it.
I don't do the Smeagol voice. I can't do it, but he says, give it to me raw and riddling. I wish I could do it. Meg, come on, do the Smeagol voice. Come on.
Oh, I can't do it. I can't do it. It's too high. I mean, I could do a high voice, but not that one. Yeah. But
let me see here. We got oh gosh, I was like, I'm talking about the Starfield sales. Let me grab these supers. Spartan 661. I love this super. I saw it while David was leaving, and I love this. He says, Mag is such an awesome person to have on a podcast. Colt, I don't think you could have a better co-host. You guys are eating good. Thanks, Mag. Have fun.
Jesus, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that. That really makes me feel good, man. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean,
a lot. It
makes me feel good too, because I'm like, Meg's a good guy, but he's so annoying. No, I'm just kidding.
He is annoying. It's incredibly annoying. Yeah. Ask my wife. See how much she loves me. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, our wives don't even like listening to us. Why in the heck would we be on the air, right?
Yeah, you know what's funny? It's actually that she does listen to me in the car and sometimes when she's at work and stuff. And she's actually we've actually got a lot of listeners that come in, or new people that have come into the show, because they're like, "What are you listening to?" It's like, "Oh, my husband, he's talking about gaming." They're like, "I game," and so now we got all these people. Yeah, a lot of people, and actually a lot of people where I work in the in my workplace started watching us too. So I know you're out there, scumbags. Get to work tomorrow. I'll be there. Anyways,
you should be in bed by now. It's so hard to find a gaming fan in the wild, right? I was wearing my Control Your Life t-shirt that has like the NES all the way up to the Xbox One and PS4 controllers. And I went to the gas station and the lady was like, "Oh, where'd you get that shirt?" And I said, "Oh, this, yeah." I'm like, I made this. And she's like, "Oh, really? You made it?" And I go, "Yeah, I run a gaming channel on YouTube. It's like a little gaming channel, talks about Xbox and stuff." She's like, "How do I buy the shirt?" And I go, "It's on Teespring at Colteastwood." And I had to write it down on a piece of paper for her. So, that's when I was like, "Where's your business card?" Yeah, but anyway, it's cool to meet people that are real gamers. What did Ted Uniseth say? Give Colt Meg a like instead of a hug. Yeah, we don't need hugs. We get enough of those, but we appreciate you guys.
Don't call me Scooter. I saw what you said. Look at you. Yuck, a mag simp? Okay, all right.
A mag what?
Yeah, a mag simp. Okay, Cino, you wanted a mag yelling? You just got one now. And Matthew, I have not been quiet today. I was just quiet. I was being respectful for the first hour while David Jaffe was on saying ridiculous things. But the second half, I'm making up for it. Magnum Westward, mag is no gas. That's right. I'm not a scumbag. I'm actually quite talented. Unlike, there we go. You want some sound? Anyways, carry on.
Oh, I've got to get some soundboard stuff going on. Jason Wan says Wildcard Football by Playground Sports, and Saber is a great NFL Blitz style game. Oh, that's a modern one. I should check that out. Thank you, Jason. Casual New Gamer says, what's that?
What was that? What was that title?
Wildcard Football by Playground Sports and Saber are great NFL Blitz style games. I'm going to have to look this up.
I'm going to have to look them up too. I never even heard about them.
I remember one that came out that was like NFL Blitz, like during the end of the 360 era. And like, I don't know, I think it had really low scores. I'm like, I'm not going to buy it.
Didn't they have like backyard football and all that stuff?
Something
remember
like that.
Like,
yeah,
they had those ones, and it was basically like 3-on-3, and everybody beat the crap out of each other. Yeah, I remember those. Yeah.
I mean, sports games can be really great, but if you get the over-the-top stuff, like, I don't know. The Casual Noob Gamer, thank you for the 5, says, I think Game Pass was a crutch until the games showed up. Jeez, yeah. Says, now that the first-party games are coming, Xbox will put Game Pass second and sales first, like PlayStation and Nintendo. I mean, Game Pass just going onward and onward. I've heard that they're not even going to be reporting numbers for Game Pass, Mag, because devs might just keep asking for more money. They got to kind of find a balance there. Spartan says, just let Xbox drop kick Sony in their face. He gives a $2 super to say, yeah, they should definitely go for the throat. And I think at this point,
why not?
Xbox is doing a totally different thing. They're not trying to sell the consoles because Nintendo's killing PlayStation in the console sales. So why even compete? Because they're not really competing with PlayStation. They're trying to compete against Xbox Series consoles versus a Switch. And a Switch 2 is coming and feels like it's like Jaffe said, it's about the games. Gamer by choice is, I think people hate to be a Sony combat competitor and maybe they just wanted to make a great story. People HB. Oh, people want Hellblade to be a Sony combat competitor, and maybe they just wanted to make a great story-based game. Maybe we have the wrong expectations. Gamer by Choice makes a good point. Yeah, and I think Meg has kind of brought us down into the where should the expectations for the game be. And if you're not so much a fan of Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice, you might not be. You might be a little bit more, or maybe you'll like this one. I think that's probably what they're going for. Like, let's catch some even more fans with the second one.
It's not and of course, at the end of the day, we are not talking about the quality or anything like that. We're saying, I would say, sort of shift your expectations to a different style of game, not the quality. Not anything like that. I just mean the style of the game. So I'm just saying, like, people specifically think, oh, it's going to be this kind of game or this kind of game, this kind of game. Play the first one. If you haven't played it, it's in Game Pass right now. Great game. Not too long. You could finish it in one day, no problem, if you have the time. Give it a shot, and I think you're going to get more of that, just better quality, more expansive, that kind of thing. So that's what I'm thinking it's going to be. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Hey, then I'm wrong.
Hey, I forgot, Mag, that when they showed it in 2019, people were like, this is going to be our God of War. And I'm like, I don't know if that's what they're going for. I never really thought that. Dude.
That's what I'm saying. A lot of people are saying things like that. Like the Assassin's Creed Valhalla / God of War. I don't think that's what this game is. Because if that was the game you were getting, you would have seen it already.
Yeah, and I also always sit back and think, if people get excited about Hellblade 2, I'm like, yeah, go for it. And sometimes they may say, Cole, are you excited? I'm like, yeah, I can't wait to see what it's going to be. But if I'm not in love with what's about to be that game, that's fine. I know people are going to be excited. Risky for the Biscuit with Australian $8 says, you should be concerned about the combat while also understanding they had 2 years of combat training. The lack of showing it is probably more performance, if that's what he means by perf. Probably more perf.
Yeah, maybe that's what he means.
The lack of showing is probably more. The lack of showing the combat, he's saying, is more perf. And I know. Wait, if he's still in the chat, he'll give me an explanation.
Brisket, why are you speaking in riddles? Just finish the word.
You have a limited character line on super chats.
Well,
they're
that's
trying
fine,
to keep a man down.
Well, no, I was just going to say, I know limited character because Risket for the Biscuit has no character. So, anyways, carry on, Colt.
Son of a gun. So, okay, the last thing we have is Fallout 4 is supposed to get its Xbox Series X enhancement. They said, and I quote, it will get performance and quality mode, bug fixes, and bonus Creation Club content, which I think you have to buy the Creation Club content, but today they announced in April the Fallout TV show is going to be on, oh my gosh, I hope I get this right, on Amazon Prime. I don't often watch shows like this. There's been some video game related shows and I don't watch them by myself. Like I'll watch shows with my wife and I'm like, am I going to watch The Witcher with her? I don't think so. Am I going to watch Fallout with her? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Fallout TV show. Gosh dang it, it better be good.
You know what? Last of Us was amazing. Twisted Metal was amazing. I love Twisted Metal. And it's funny because my wife didn't want to watch it either. I watched the whole series myself because they're short. They're just like 30-minute episodes, right? So when you finish watching it, it's basically like watching like a 3.5, 4 hour movie. It's you could bang it off in one evening. Pause. But this, I don't know. Like, I don't know where they're going to go with this. Is it going to be, I mean, it's been in production for quite a while. Mind you, I'd also have to say that maybe it was delayed slightly because there was the writer's strike and the Screen Actors Guild strike and stuff like that. Yep. So maybe they had to delay it there. So it could have been ready in the spring for all we know. But I don't know. Who the heck knows? I'll give it a shot. I'm not going to say no. You know what I mean? Like, I'll sit down and watch the first episode. If it grabs me, then I'll be like, all right, man, let's do it. Let's watch episode number 2 and 3 and 4 and on and on and on. But it's got to be the last 15 minutes of the first episode has to grab you. That's the way that these shows work. That's, if you understand the structure of how a television show works, the first half is exposition and development of the situation. Where are we? Who's involved? What are we doing? Where are we going? That's always that's how a show begins and that's how a show starts. And then the last 15 minutes, you smack them in the face with something hard and they go, oh, damn, this looks hot.
I have to see what happens next.
Exactly. So it's exposition to begin with, and then you've got exposition set up, and then so Fallout might do it.
I mean, are we going to see the vault open up and white light, and then it just cuts to the credits? Like, I don't know.
And no, I don't think that's the case. I think they're going to have to do something more substantial than just the vault opening up and then you're coming out, and then like you see the character coming out there, or the silhouette of the character. Because the only people that makes sense to is us.
It's us.
The gamers that have played the game.
I mean, if the whole first episode is the life of the vault and they explain that there was this big bombing and people were down there for a certain amount of time, but we grew up. Like, the TV show is not just for us. The Fallout TV show is to bring new people into. There's this whole world where everything is 50s frozen styling. People live in underground vaults during the nuclear winter, and some of them, come out, and there have been people out there just rampaging and marauding. It's a tried and true classic trope that lives on in Mad Max and other IPs or other TV shows and movies where you come out and people are just going buck wild and there's no law, and it could be really, really good.
Yeah, but it has to be accessible by everybody. It can't just be accessible by a select few people.
That's by these people?
Yeah, like that's why Disney fails with Disney Plus, and they will continue to fail, except for like Loki's got good writing. You've got but the rest of them, if you want to watch Ahsoka, you needed to have watched like 18 hours of stuff to get to the point where you know who these people are. And then all of a sudden, Ezra shows up and everybody goes, now who's this guy? Right? Unless you watch the shows, or you watch the Rebel shows and this and that, and Clone Wars. That's what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is you cannot make a Fallout series for Fallout. You could have it for Fallout fans, but it has to be accessible by everyone so that everybody walks in fresh from the beginning, and everybody from someone who's never even seen a Fallout, 1 minute of a Fallout game, or someone who's played hundreds of hours of Fallout, both can experience it and enjoy it the same way. That's the key to good television, right? And to good movies as well, right? Especially when you have an established IP. So it's a very difficult balance, and I think that's why game-related TV shows or movies are very difficult to adapt, is because you're trying to draw in everybody and keep it accessible to everybody. Like, for example, I think Amazon also has the rights to God of War, do they not? Is it Amazon that has God of War?
I don't remember. There's so many of them that
I'm pretty sure it's working Amazon. Because I know that they got Fallout, and then so Amazon has Fallout and God of War. Obviously HBO has Last of Us. And then there's another one in the mix. I can't remember if it's a Tomb Raider one. I don't remember. If chat, help me out. I think there's other ones. So that's what they got to do.
Remember.
And so I'm excited. I'm interested to see where the show's going to go. I'm not going to say no. I'm going to sit down and watch a couple. Like, for example, the Halo show. I thought the Halo show was okay at best. It was mediocre at best. It was like a 4 out of 10. right? For me.
Ugh,
And I got
that's
through,
not mediocre. That's awful.
I got
on
2
my scale.
episodes. I watched 2 episodes, and I never turned it back on. I never even finished it.
I mean,
So
for me
that
to
should- that
watch
should let you know.
yeah, I mean, it's a video game podcast, but for me to watch TV show, everybody has to talk about it, and everybody was even talking about The Last of Us. My problem being that you get into the second game, and I have no interest after finishing that game in that IP anymore. But I don't know. I feel like Fallout has a mass appeal to it, with its quirky styling.
Sure.
You know, it's always been interesting, you know, since Carl Sagan said that we'll bring ourselves into nuclear winter, to think of what the world would be like if all the rules were thrown out the window and there was nothing left to govern us. And we just have, you know, our little pistols and our laser pistols, and we go out and shoot rat
It should be
scorpions.
interesting. Like I said,
Yeah.
it should be interesting. I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to say no. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to give it a shot. I'll watch 1 episode. If it grabs me, I'll keep watching. If it's like ho hum, I'll say, you know what? I'll give it 1 more episode and I'll try it out, and then I'll see where it goes from there. If it doesn't grab me by the 2nd episode, forget it. You just call it a day. And that's happened to me with like a bunch of shows, like Disney Plus. Forget it, man. Like 90% of the shows, by episode 2, I'm turning it off. I
got halfway through Obi-Wan, but that's the scary thing about these established franchises. When we talk about Xbox, we didn't even talk about Phil revisiting ABK stuff, and maybe we'll bring that up on another show. But you've got all these franchises that people have. Yes, people have this massive love and this commitment to these franchises, and if you don't do it right, it can really go bad. Like the Rings of Power show, I wanted to love that because I love that world, but they just didn't do it. So I don't know. I think Fallout would be good. I don't even know who's making it, honestly. That's one of those things, like when it's out, then I'll worry about it, but you know, it's going to be out in like 5 or 6 months or whatever that is.
Yeah.
I don't want to do the math.
It's somewhere in the spring, isn't it? April, I think it is.
April.
Is it April? All right, so there it is. When April comes along, we'll talk. We'll revisit it. And
it's a half a year, bro.
Yeah, and maybe they'll show like a story trailer, because usually they do the teaser trailer and then a story trailer a little bit later, so you get an idea of where it's going and whatnot, or how they're going to tackle the subject. Seeing that there's multiple Fallouts, you know, you're going to have to pick and choose, you know, from the different games and the lore of what story they're going to tell, and then take it from there. So it should be interesting. I doubt they're going to start with like the first Fallout and then go like each season will be a different game. I don't think they'll do that at all, because those are all different stories.
The first 2 or 3 shows could be just in the vault if they follow some of the Fallout 3 structure. Who knows? But it'll be its own thing.
Yep.
And I know I'll be watching it going, that's not how it goes. That's not what the Pit Boy's supposed to act like. Or, you know, it'll be one of those things because they always make it their own. We got a super from Snowdragon who says Insomniac allows remote work without issues delivering. Insomniac went through the same thing Xbox did, but keep in mind, Ratchet and Clank they just expanded a great foundation, same as Miles Morales. And then Spider-Man 2 is expanded off a great foundation that was already built. God of War saw a year delay, Ragnarok, off of a great foundation that's already built. And I talked to somebody at Xbox, said PlayStation's done a really good job creating these games that they built last generation and making them even better for the new generation, or making them really great. It's really hard to build a game from scratch. And that's what Xbox is doing with new studios. Like, they're not grabbing the old code from Gears 5 and saying, all right, let's just make the world a little bit bigger. At least that's not what I'm hearing. And we know Fable's all brand new. We know Avowed is all brand new, whole new world they're building. So it does take time. Insomniac's done an amazing job. It's been a great show, though.
Man, that was a wild show. It felt like a long show, because like Jaffe felt like that was last week.
Yeah, his
like
hour.
we did like 2 shows.
His hour went by. It felt like 20 minutes for us while we were talking here. But we appreciate you guys for being here. A few more likes, 8 more likes will get us to 500. I'm not hitting the end button until we get to 500. I'm just kidding. You guys don't have to do that. We appreciate you being here. One more comes in. Let's see. Is this one already?
No, Spartan 661.
Yeah. One was still hanging there, but I got it. Spartan 661, thank you for the $5 super chat. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the show, if you learned something, you had a couple laughs, if you wanted a Toblerone bar while I was sitting here talking and chewing my face off, listening to Mag. hit the like button. Get us up to 500, please. Barton says, I know everyone needs to sleep, but being a performer is as close to seeing a musician or a chef in their line of work, hobby. Don't believe and watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Seeing the real thing is always the best. Going to a sports game in person is so much better than TV, even though you can love it on TV. And being at a concert, oh my gosh. I mean, you only have to mildly like the band, and it's such a great time. And you guys are here seeing us in real time. Talk to you on the mic and camera. We really appreciate it. Thanks, everybody, for all your support. We're doing the best we can with the XNC Podcast, but you guys make the show. You really, Mag, they make the show. They're amazing.
Yeah, of course they make the show. The
Some
chat
of them
is
are
like
amazing.
a highlight. Even the ones that talk smack, it's all right. It's all good. But I'll tell you something. You know what? The chat keeps me entertained whenever I'm not speaking or someone else is talking or whatever. I look down and I'm always giggling and laughing at all the fun stuff that everybody's got to say. Everybody's been supportive, wonderful, and great, showing in week and week out. We see every single one of your names. Even if we don't shout you out, we see you in there. So, yeah, guys, keep coming back and we'll keep performing for you. We'll keep putting on shows for you. It's all good. We're having a great time. Let's keep it going. We'll see you guys all next week, though, of course.
Yes, thanks, guys. When we're back on Monday, we'll be reporting on that showcase, see how it went, if there's anything really cool, and hopefully more news is going to be breaking. It's going to be great, man. It's going to be really great. So I'm going to hit I think we're ready to hit the button if I can remember how to do it. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week. Mag, get some sleep so you can play your games tomorrow when you get home from work.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Have a good night, everyone.
See ya.